Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to create the snowman exercise. So if you look at the slide, we're going to go through the process of modeling of the snowman. Then we're going to do a simple texture or shading for the snowman. Or we're going to skip rigging, we're going to skip animation, but we do going to put some lighting and we're going to do some rendering for the snowman. Okay, so basically we're going through the simple pipeline or production for the snowman. Okay, so let's open up your Maya. Okay, so this is what your Maya look like. Okay, so the interface can be quite overwhelming when you open up this 3D package. Okay, but before we start anything, right, be sure you check out the video, right, and also apply some hotkeys. Okay, things like the grid, the move, the rotate, and stuff like that. So you need to go through all these. Then you can do this exercise much easier. Okay. Now here in this section, right, make sure you have the modeling, right, when the tab set to the modeling. Okay, because if you do set this to something else, right, watch what happened to the menu, right? So the menus actually change. Okay, so make sure you follow what I'm having right now. Okay, because at the first stage we just gonna do some simple modeling for the snowman. Okay, and again, the secondly is that make sure this shelf, right, is also set to poly modeling. Okay, because what we're going to do now, we're going to use this simple object to create the snowman. Okay, um, again, we're going to move on to this big section here. So this is what we call a viewport. Okay, so this is the place where we're going to spend most of our time do our work here. Okay, so let's create a sphere, right, by clicking this polygon sphere. Okay, so it's the first icon on the shelf. Okay, and suddenly it will just pop this object for you. And again, I'm going to use my Alt and left mouse button to kind of rotate my viewport. Okay, and then I'm going to use my Alt and right mouse button to kind of like zooming in. Okay, so if you're not sure what keys or what kind of hot keys that I press, you can actually go back to the blackboard and then refer to this or this. Okay, so this will actually open up, right, shortcut that I'm pressing. Right, this is a very basic shortcut that you need to memorize it. Okay, so let's go back to Maya. And again, I'm just gonna be creative or loose with the design. So I'm gonna quickly just shape the snowman like this. Right, I'm just using a very simple shape to create the head. Right, that like this. Okay, I'm gonna use a sphere. Right, yeah. Now, when you modeling in 3D space, right, you can actually change the view from perspective to orthographic. Okay, so you can click this button here, right? It will switch to 4 view, or you can actually tap spacebar. Okay, so if I tap spacebar, let's say in this perspective, right? Just press spacebar, right? This will actually maximize the viewport that you currently selecting. Okay, so if I tap spacebar, it will switch to overview, and if I move my mouse to the front, okay, right here, and I tap my spacebar again, this will maximize this viewport. Okay, so it really depends on your mouse location and tap spacebar. Okay, tap spacebar, and tap spacebar. Okay, now if you want to be accurate, right, I think the orthographic view will give you a better representation. Alright, so maybe this is gonna be the eyes. Okay, like that. Okay, and I'm gonna press 4. So 4 will give you a wireframe. Okay. Now this time, rather than clicking the polygon sphere, I'm going to press Control D. Control D for duplicate. Right. So this will give me another object. Okay, so I'm gonna press this once. Okay, and drag it. Okay. So I think it's a very handy tool to use as compared to creating the object from scratch. Okay, so it's much faster way to do. Okay, but be sure you move whenever you finish with the Control D shortcut, because otherwise, if I keep pressing Control D, Control D, and Control D, right? So I'm pressing this 3 times. There's actually an object, right? In this case, a polygon object being stacked in that same location. So as you can see, if I move this, okay, so that's the first sphere, second one, and that's the third one. Okay, so this can be quite dangerous in a way. So make sure you move whenever you complete your duplication. Okay, so this object we don't need it for now, so we can select all these objects. Okay, just click and drag and just press delete. And again, I'm gonna quickly finishing up my modeling stage, so I can move to my texturing stage. Now, this section here on my right, it's called a channel box. So if you cannot see or it's not open, you can press Control A, right? So this will toggle this side menu. Okay, so the first one is currently selected. So if I press Control A, this will move to this menu. Okay, so Control A, right? Control A again. So this will toggle, right, all these side menu. Okay, so if this not open, so don't worry, you can either click or press Control A. Now, this side menu, right now is set to channel box. It's actually quite handy. So if I select this and I want to rotate this on exact location or maybe degree, I can actually type this. So at this stage, I want to type 90. Right. So this will rotate the cone to the 90 degrees exactly. Okay, so I'm gonna like move around, right, just like that. Okay, and again I'm gonna be loose with the design, so this can be his hand, right? I mean, the eyes a bit slanted, so I have to zoom a little bit. Okay, so let's duplicate this guy. Okay, you can rotate it. Alright, do something like that. And maybe I want to put some button, right? Button. And I want to duplicate it 1 time, 2 times, then 1 more. Okay, so this is my snowman look like. Now, before we finish up the snowman, right, I'm gonna go to this tool. Okay, so it's called Windows and then Outliner. Okay, so if I open up this, right, this is what the Windows Outliner do. Okay, so what does this window do? Basically, this outliner will give you the information about what's happening in the scene. Okay, so it will list all the object that is happening in the scene. Okay, so all these objects is actually represent the snowman that you just did. Now, this one, right? This first 4 represent the camera. So right now we're on a perspective camera, and this one's the top camera, and this one is the side camera. and this one is the front camera. Okay, so that one cannot be deleted. So if we try to delete that camera, Maya will give you an error. Okay, so it's actually like a very handy tool. Okay, so it will list everything that is happening in the scene. Now, what we're gonna do with this outliner is that we need to get organized. Okay, it is a good habit since the start that you want to rename all these objects accordingly, because later on when you're dealing with a bigger project, when you're creating like scene for animation or maybe for games, you are going to be dealing with many objects. Okay, so if you have bad renaming like this one, for example, like P sphere 3, P sphere 6, and P cone 1, and whatever, right? It is very hard to identify which object is which. So it's a good idea starting from now that you have to rename these properly. Okay, so let's give it this object a good name. So maybe I want to this body, right, underscore mesh, right? So this big one is going to be renamed as body underscore, and maybe this one can be the head underscore mesh. Okay, and so on and so on. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and start renaming all these objects. We're back. So I already renamed all these objects properly. Okay, so this one I renamed that to head 1 and head 2, and the eyeball I renamed that to left, right. So L represent left, R represent right. Uh, that's the eyeball, and this is the hand, and the button, and so on and so on. Okay, so at this stage we are already finished with the modeling. Okay, but there is one more thing that I want to show you to you. Now in this outliner, right, we can actually create a group. Okay, so a group is like a folder. So I can press Control G, right? This will create an empty folder. Okay, so just like a folder, I can put stuff in the folder. Okay, so let's say I want to move this snowman. Okay, so rather than select this, right, and move, or maybe I have to select this and shift select that one, then I can move all these together. I can actually put these in a group. So I'm gonna use my middle mouse button and put here, right, and I call these whatever I want. Okay, maybe more meaningful, like body underscore GRP. Okay, so GRP stands for group. I can actually select the group and move this object all together, right? So this is very handy, okay, as compared to select this manually and then move. Okay, and again, if you don't want, or you want to remove an object from the group, you can select that object and use your middle mouse button to drag it out. Okay, and now like this folder or this group contain one object. Okay, and I can also put it back if I wanted to, like that, right? Or maybe I putting all these random object using my middle mouse button, put in a group, and I can, yeah, select the group and so on. Okay, and let's say I messed it up with the group and I want to delete the group. I can select all these, I can remove it, and I can just like select the group and press delete to remove the group. Okay, and I can also create a group right inside another group. So I can create another group and I can use my middle mouse button to click and drag. So now I can have a folder inside another folder, or a group inside another group. Okay, so I want to move this like that, for example. So I want to pause the video for now.